I don't have kids, so why should I bother working? As long as I'm fed, I don't have to worry about anyone else. I have no mortgage, no car loan, and I can eat pork rinds every day. I'm already overnourished. I don't have a wife, and life is just fine.
The current state of China's economy and job market has driven a wave of young people to the brink of despair. If I don't get married, I'm letting my parents down. It means I'm a failure and I don't deserve to live in this world. I'm just not worth it. The state of China's economy and the job market is driving a new generation of youth to the brink. I feel like I'm going crazy. What should I do? What kinds of jobs are people doing these days? Is it really this hard to find a job now? I came back to Nanning from Beijing early July and it's been over 3 months already. Now it's mid-October. I've been looking for a job every single day on various job search apps. It's so hard. My daily job now is just looking for a job. I feel like I might have to give in and work in a factory, screwing bolts, but I really don't want to. China's job market is in a dire state. According to the National Bureau of Statistics, the unemployment rate for 16 to 24-year-olds who are not students reached 18.8% in August. That means out of every 100 people looking for or wanting a job, 19 are unemployed. In other words, when you walk down the streets of China, 1 in every 5 people you might see be looking for work or unable to find a job. This is a significant proportion. Some people believe the situation might be even worse. The unemployment rate is calculated based on the percentage of people receiving unemployment benefits out of the total workforce. However, this measure is practically meaningless in China. There are many self-employed individuals and independent workers in the country, and the criteria for receiving unemployment benefits are stringent. One commentator shared their experience of applying for unemployment benefits in their community, saying it felt almost impossible. What are the requirements? First, you must have paid into Social Security. If you haven't, you can't even apply. Second, you must have been unemployed for a certain period. Newly unemployed people don't qualify. Third, you must have been laid off by a company. Those who quit voluntarily are ineligible. Finally, the community will offer you 3 jobs, all of them low level, such as janitorial or security positions, and you must take 1. If you refuse, you are considered to have voluntarily forfeited employment and won't receive any benefits. But what's more discouraging is that many young people find that even working earns less than unemployment benefits. I graduated from a top-tier university with a degree in music. I've been working as a piano teacher at a music academy for 2 years. This was my paycheck last month, 2,495 yuan. Here's my paycheck from last month, 3,939 yuan. It's so little. I thought it was a refund from something I bought on Pinduoduo, but no, it was my salary. I was so angry.
I work 26 days a month, 12 hours a day, and earn just over 4,000 yuan. Friends, I graduated with a master's degree 3 months ago, and I finally found such a good job.
The situation is even more extreme at job fairs in Shanghai's universities. At a job fair for Shanghai University, there were hiring programmers for a monthly salary of $800 to 1,499 yuan. The job required a bachelor degree, proficiency in Java, and experience with Oracle and MySQL software, as well as Linux commands. Ideally, candidates who have won competitions hosted by IBM and Google. They were also looking for someone proactive and responsible. Did I read that right? When I asked the staff, they confirmed that the monthly salary was indeed 800 to 1,499 yuan, about 114 US dollars. The harsh reality of university graduates struggling across the country paints a bleak picture of the job market.
I really need to vent about the job situation in Changchun. I spent the whole day on the job hunting app and even went to a few interviews. But all I found were jobs in insurance, real estate agencies, debt collection, sales, and online customer service. It's frustrating. I want to know, is it just this hard to find a job in Changchun, or is it the same everywhere else? I'm not looking down on these industries, but I really want a job with future prospects, not just something to make ends meet day by day. What I studied in college is completely useless. No company will hire you based on your degree unless it's from Tsinghua or Peking University. So I don't understand the point of us regular young people going to college anymore.
With youth unemployment in China reaching record highs, the government introduced 24 measures to boost employment as part of its broader pursuit of high-quality development. On September 25th, the State Council released 24 actions aimed at expanding job opportunities for college graduates and other young people, ensuring ensuring equal employment rights, and more. According to Xinhua, this is the first comprehensive employment stabilization directive issued at the central level under Xi Jinping's leadership. The announcement highlights a focus on quality development by prioritizing employment, aiming to resolve job market mismatches and prevent large-scale unemployment. The goal is to ensure stable jobs, fair wages, and reliable protections, enhancing workers' security and well-being. Xinhua highlighted 5 key points among the 24 measures. 1. Creating jobs alongside the formulation of major policies. 2. Adjusting university program based on industry demand with a warning system for programs with low employment quality. 3. Prioritizing job placements for college graduates and migrant workers. 4. Developing neighborhood employment service centers and 15-minute job service zones. 5. Completely removing residency restrictions for social insurance enrollment in areas of employment. Although this policy aims to tackle the current youth unemployment crisis by shifting away from an overemphasis on degrees and bridging the gap between education and market needs, Li, a professor at a university in China, expressed doubts to Voice of America. He believes the policy's goals are unlikely to be achieved. The main issue is that the chaotic state of China's higher education system prevents it from producing the human resources that society needs. Moreover, he argues that the real unemployment rate in China is much higher than the officially reported 18.8%. Li pointed out that under the legacy of a test-centric education system, many college graduates in China failed to match the degrees with actual skills. Universities still prioritize exam preparations over developing the work attitudes and skills that companies need. For instance, all Chinese university students must complete a thesis to graduate. Humanities, law, and business students are required to write 8,000 to 10,000 words, but most just meet the word count, submitting incomplete and poorly written drafts for the thesis. Students only care about passing plagiarism checks and finishing it, not about the quality of their work. If thoroughly reviewed, few would actually pass. Yet, to avoid wasting time and effort, professors lower the standards, allowing students to proceed. This has made companies hesitant to hire these graduates, but with limited options, it ultimately affects their willingness to expand. Additionally, university administrations has fallen into a cycle of authority without responsibility. Most Chinese universities have a dedicated employment office to assist students in finding jobs, but in practice, it just sets targets to boost employment rates and regularly demands employment data from departments. If graduates do not report their job status, their advisor face performance reviews, pay cuts, or even contract renewal issues. To avoid penalties, some teachers, accustomed to manipulating employment figures, simply borrow company seals from friends or relatives to falsely certify students' employment. This means the real employment rate may not be as optimistic as official reports suggest. Li further stressed that China's high unemployment rate is not due to a shortage of workers, but a mismatch between supply and demand. In 2022, a PhD graduate from Peking University applied for a city management position, and by 2024, even a PhD from Stanford returned to apply for a local government job in Anhui. These positions typically require only a bachelor's degree from a non-prestigious university, although the government's hope its 24 measures will promote employment, improving the quality of labor through higher education and vocational training remains crucial. The current university system does not meet the real demands of society. A construction worker named Ping, who is currently working on a land bridge project in Xinjiang, told Voice of America that the government's plan to support migrant workers is unrealistic. He pointed out that for decades, the state has not invested in rural infrastructure. Due to poor living conditions and urbanization, 80% of rural residents have moved to cities, leaving only the elderly in the countryside. Even children are no longer there, as kindergartens have shut down and kids now attend schools in urban areas. These 300 million migrant workers move to where jobs are available, much like a herd following the water and grass. Ping questioned where a large enough market to accommodate migrant workers would come from, noting that China has yet to develop such an industry. He pointed out that expecting farmers to return to agriculture is unrealistic, as it would not provide a sustainable livelihood. He also mentioned that the removal of residency restrictions from social insurance registrations, which was supposed to help migrant workers, was already in place 3 to 5 years ago. For him, it is not a forward-thinking policy, and lifting this restriction makes no difference now. In his view, to truly develop rural areas, the government needs to address healthcare and preschool education first. Some village lacks even the most basic water, electricity, and roads, so how can young people be expected to return to rural life? Without pillar industries, migrant workers cannot make a living, so returning to the countryside is not an option. Ironically, while migrant workers have no interest in returning, rural areas have become a retirement destination for young people. With China's worsening employment situation, many young adults opting out of marriage and parenthood are heading to rural areas to retire. An increasing number of young people from the post-1990s and 2000s generation who call themselves retirees have already started taking long breaks or remain unemployed, sharing their rural retirement lives on social media. According to CNBC, these young people often move to provinces like Yunnan, Guizhou, and Sichuan, where the cost of living is only a quarter of that in Shanghai. Last year, a self-described retiree settled in a bamboo hut on a cliffside in Guizhou. At just 22 years old, he had worked in various industries including auto repair, construction, and manufacturing. Tired of dealing with machines every day, he quit his job and returned home, trying to find local work but never feeling satisfied. Over time, he began to reflect on the meaning of life and realized that life is not just about urban prosperity. Rural tranquility has its own charm. Chief economist at Hang Seng Bank China, Undone, noted that over the past 3 years, the sectors that once hired many fresh graduates have significantly contracted, particularly in real estate and finance. Due to the increased government involvement, the private sector has faced tighter regulations and financial constraints. Coupled with Xi Jinping's authoritarian governance, there is higher pressure and the number of private companies has decreased, along with the job opportunities available.
Have you noticed how difficult it has become to find a job in Xinjiang lately? Many local business owners are disappearing, not because they're fleeing, but because they have no other choice. Whether it's individual entrepreneurs, company owners, or factory bosses, many are drowning in debt, stuck between continuing their struggling businesses or giving up. Out of 10 bosses, at least 7 or 8 are heavily in debt. They may look successful on the surface, but when they urgently need cash, they don't even have 50,000 yuan in their pockets. Some of them drive BMWs or Mercedes, yet only put 200 yuan worth of fuel in their cars. Believe it or not, this situation is common. Many companies are just barely holding on. Some bosses have already mortgaged their homes and cars, destroyed their credit scores, and are living worse than their employees, struggling with anxiety and insomnia, fearing both the bank's refusal to give them loans and the possibility of employees quitting suddenly. I've met with many business owners lately, and under this constant pressure, they're truly suffering. But to survive, they have to push through, often by cutting staff, downsizing, and reducing salaries. If your company is still able to pay you on time and in full, consider yourself lucky.
Despite this, the private sector is not the only one struggling. Even government employees are facing pay cuts. Chen, an Australian Chinese who grew up in Beijing, was shocked by the hardship in China when he returned. He observed that even civil servants in and around Beijing were experiencing pay cuts, with delayed payments becoming common. Families spend their life savings to put their children through university, only for them to graduate into unemployment. Hospitals have become highly commercialized, leading to severe resource wastage, while collusion between businesses and officials has left the public discontented. Mr. Chen highlighted the difficult living conditions, noting that taxi usage has plummeted, with drivers in Beijing earning just over 200 yuan a day. Restaurants and malls are largely empty, reflecting a worsening economy and widespread public discontent. The government's recent decision to delay retirement by 3 years has sparked widespread criticism, especially from state-owned enterprise workers who are also facing a 20% pay cut. He added that during visits to provinces around Beijing earlier this year, civil servants reported not being paid since the previous year. Similar situations were observed in the northeastern provinces. The government's stance is straightforward. Civil servants can stay if they want or leave if they don't. Previously, they earned around 15,000 yuan, but now it's down to 8,000. Despite reduced job security, many still choose to stay for the health insurance and social benefits. This has diminished confidence among young people. Chan also spoke about the challenges young people are facing. He said, across China, people over the age of 35 struggle to find employment, which is why many are looking to work abroad. There were reports online indicating that 9 university students in Beijing plan to give up collectively because of overwhelming stress. Mr. Chen confirmed that students are under immense pressure, with the state overlooking their well-being as long as there's no disruption. The education system fosters intense competition where failing to enter a top university can limit future prospects. Many parents sacrifice everything, spending their life savings to secure their children's education. Yet, after graduation, many students find themselves disillusioned, as the opportunities they expected often fail to materialize. Tragically, this cycle of despair continues to play out across Chinese society. A study published in June by China Higher Education Research under the Chinese Ministry of Education predicted that the number of new university graduates could peak at 18 million in 2034. Zhou Yun, an assistant professor of sociology at the University of Michigan, noted that for many Chinese graduates, the promise of a university degree leading to a better job prospects and a brighter future is becoming more and more unattainable.